What's up, everybody? We have a lot of interesting stories for you today. This is going to be kind of a palate cleanser just because I've got a backlog of a lot of old news, and we're going to get rid of all that so we can take on new and more recent stories. But anyway, let's jump into it. All right, welcome back to the Casual Consumer Network. Here we go over a variety of topics in the medium of entertainment. I'm one of your hosts, Dark Fox, and we're going to be moving into our first segment. In the first story, we're going to cover America's largest fast food chain, as far as numbers, is on the downward spiral right now, Subway. So as far as I know, as the recent data that I have, 1,800 stores have closed down in the U.S. And you can just imagine how many people that's, put out of work. And on top of that, about 500 executives that work in HQ have been let go. And not to mention, they've lost, I want to say, around $2 billion. According to the article, some of that might be some nefarious things that are going on behind the scenes. And to drive that point home, we're going to reference the article real quick. So Chitsey, that's going to be John Chitsey, the CEO. Chitsey is also rumored to have put a strain on YouTube on Subway's relationship with its franchises by ceasing two-way communication and instituting controversial menu changes that hurt profits. As we previously reported, many were shocked when Subway announced that it was cutting roast beef and rotisserie chicken from its menu last June, a move which some operators strongly disagreed with because the two proteins were popular among customers. At the same time, the company rolled out a $5 footlong when you buy two deal, which saw a major pushback from operators who said it would lose too much money. The former decision was recently reversed, thank goodness. And even further down, it gets into what I consider the more nefarious things. So the company's moves may be indicative of an intent to sell to a private equity firm, according to experts. And there are already two likely buyers, according to Business Insider. Both Restaurant Brands International, the parent company of Burger King, Popeyes, and Tim Hortons, and Inspire, which owns Arby's and Sonic, among others, have looked into purchasing Subway over the past year. Eat This, Not That has reached out to Subway for comment, but the chain hasn't responded so far. I know that some of this will be a result of the pandemic that we're going through right now. A lot of businesses are feeling this. Ones that operate only online benefited from it because people were, sitting at home for the better part of a year, and they profited from this big time. But the ones that are brick and mortar stores that you have to go to, they suffered greatly from this. So some of this could be from the pandemic, and I'll give that to them. It's an unfortunate thing, but it looks like that some more nefarious things are going on with canceling two of the most popular proteins in this restaurant. And then, this deal that they brought to the forefront, and people actively saying this is going to lose us money. So I'm more worried about the people who are going to be losing this job over this. And shame on Subway because they're doing this to be bought up by a bigger company. So hopefully that's not the case, but it looks like it might have some elements of that. All right, moving on to our next story. This is something straight out of Planet of the Apes. It's sort of like the B film that didn't make its way into the movie, but it's still just as compelling. Scientists have mixed a human embryo with a monkey embryo, a macaque monkey to be exact. And I know this seems like, stranger than fiction, but bear with me while I explain. So scientists are putting these embryos together to see how their genetics communicate with each other. The end goal is to solve the organ shortage that we face here as human beings. There are obviously a lot of people who decide to become an organ donor whenever they die, but that still doesn't make up a lot of people who are in need of these organs. So like the scientists say, this is a demand problem that far exceeds the supply. As you would expect, this ignited a fair bit of controversy. Some scientists think it is unethical to grow this organism just to harvest it for its organs. This is straight out of that movie, My Sister's Keeper, where they had a kid just to have her donate, I want to say, the bone marrow for their eldest daughter. And I fall squarely into the camp of unethical just because it seems wrong to grow a human, essentially a human monkey, to harvest it for its organs without giving it its due process that we all have as human beings. All right, and moving to our last story in this segment, we're going to be talking about a new dinosaur that they recently found in Argentina, the Lucalcan aleocranianus, if I got that right. It's going to be a theropod that is related to the T-Rex, the Spinosaurus, and the Troodon, animals of that nature, or lizards of that nature. And the interesting about this new dinosaur that they found, its ear holes are a lot bigger than its cousins. So they think that this dinosaur was able to hear a lot more acutely than the T-Rex or his other cousins. So that's really, really interesting. My son digs on this kind of stuff, and with him really liking it, it really has reinvigorated my interest in the subject. So I thought I'd mention it. All right, and before we move on to our next segment, I want to remind everyone to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell so you're notified when new videos come out. All right, moving into our next segment. The first story we're going to be talking about is Castlevania and it coming to an end. It's going to be starting its fourth and final season on May 13th, which is right around the corner. I'm super excited about it, but there's no need to fret because there is talks about a new series that's coming out that's going to be new characters, but it's going to be based in the same universe. So I'm really looking forward to that. The next story we're going to be talking about is Predator and legal issues that they're facing right now. Since Disney bought up 20th Century Fox, they own the rights to Predator right now, and they're in the process of making a new movie, unfortunately. However, the Thomas brothers, the ones who created this IP, are currently trying to get their IP back from Disney. So according to IGN, there is a termination provision in copyright law that states that after 35 years, the creators of the IP is able to take ownership of the IP again, and they're coming up on their 35th anniversary. So really hoping that they're, justice served, they're able to get their IP back. And mainly, let's just put this series to bed for good. These movies have made money, but the quality has definitely gone down, I think, in my opinion. All right, next we're going to be talking about Alfred Molina and him reprising his role as Doc Ock. So as we all know, even though it's just rumor at this point, but we really know that they're going to be doing a multiverse thing with Spider-Man. In an interview with Variety, he was talking about how he was worried about coming back for this role just because he's older now, much older, and he doesn't think he can do the physical things that he did in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. He kind of talked himself to the end result, which was, in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, he didn't do much physically because the puppeteers were the ones that was taking care of all of it. So, and they did mention that they were going to be able to de-age him with, the technology that we have now. So I think he's definitely going to come back and do it, which I'm super looking forward to. What I hate is the secrecy around this, even though we kind of already know that it's going to be a Spider-Verse movie. I wish they would just come out and make it official. All right, so this next story is going to be more of an update. They have Gabriel Luna joining the cast of The Last of Us. He's going to be playing Joel's brother Tommy, and so we're up to Pedro Pascal as Joel, Bella Ramsey as Ellie, and now Gabriel Luna as Tommy. In the last story of this segment, we're going to be talking about the new anime adaptation, Gundam. They're making a live action movie on Netflix. It's going to be directed by John Bott Roberts, the same guy who directed Skull Island. I thought it was pretty good. A lot of people say that the character development wasn't really there, but it goes without saying that with big monster movies, the most interesting thing you're going to find is the monsters. So the people don't get as much character development, and which is fine with me. I just want to see monsters hitting each other. And this is the same guy who's going to be directing another IP that I absolutely love, Metal Gear. In an interview with Screen Rant, I want to say it was Screen Rant, he goes into how he grew up in the gaming era. And so it's part of his life, and he really thinks he knows how to adapt it to film. So I'm going to go out on a limb that I trust this guy with this IP, especially since he grew up in the same age I did. It was a gaming age. Sit down in front of the Nintendo, the Sega, Dreamcast, PS1, whatever console that you had, and kind of whisked yourself away into the adventure on screen, right? So I think he has what it takes to adapt this properly, both IPs. All right, let's move into our next segment. All right, the first story in this segment, we're going to be talking about Screen Rant in their top 10 wish list for reboots in gaming. However, I'm just going to give you my top 3 and speak on them just a little bit. So my number 3 is going to be Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. So this wasn't the first time that Sonic was rendered in 3D. However, in my opinion, for its time, it was the best 3D rendering of it. I absolutely loved the story, even though it was kind of silly, but it seemed so Sonic, right? And we got introduced to 2 new characters over the course of those 2 games. We had Shadow and the Batgirl. I can't remember what her name was, but we had those 2 new characters, which I think they made a great addition to it. Number 2 is going to be Metal Gear Solid 2. Now, I'm going to widen this out to Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, because I think they all deserve a reboot. We've all seen what the new engines can do. Mixed with the story of Kojima with these 3 titles, I think would be absolutely breathtaking. We've seen how good Metal Gear 5 was and the graphics were on that, and just think how much better it can be on a new engine. I think this is a recipe for greatness, and I think that we should be moving in that direction. All right, and my number 1 is Jak and Daxter. 1, 2, and 3. And there's been some controversy surrounding The Last of Us getting a reboot for the new engine and them not looking at their older IPs to reboot. For one, they're older and they deserve to be rebooted before they take one of their new titles. I'm in the camp that why can't we do both? You know what I mean? We can definitely do both of these, not unless, they're spread so thin with their adaptations to film and the new IPs that they're coming out with. Maybe they don't want to waste the manpower to do 2. Maybe they can only do 1 at a time. However, I really hope that they get to Jak and Daxter at some point. And this last story is going to talk about the wording surrounding the Metal Gear Solid reboot or remake. I'm not sure which one. I think it's a reboot. But the wording that I've seen, the phraseology has been, big things coming, and they're definitely doing a reboot, This is not true. Nothing official has come out yet surrounding this. So I would just, kind of caution people. I know it helps the YouTube algorithm and things like that, but I think it's best that we stay truthful until we get something official from Konami. All right, so that's all we have for today. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about all the stories that we covered today. It'll be more precise next time, I promise. I was just waiting so long to get these out, and new and interesting stories were coming out, and I just wanted to add them all in there. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. You guys have a good day. Peace.